All right. I'll just quickly share my screen with you again. Okay. So now we're going to start with the counseling relationship. Now, this is one of the main key things that determines the nature of how the relationship is going to go. And like you have said earlier, some of us have mentioned what are the key things that makes a relationship good, right? There's trust, there's faith, there's understanding, there's listening, there's good behavior, right? There's so many things that make up a good relationship. Now, in the same way, how we realize that there's so many things that fall into place in order for us to have good relationships with other people, we need to know that even in a counseling setup, right, the relationship is extremely crucial, right? Because if the relationship is not good, right, we tend to lose the people that we are helping. So, in order for us to understand these things, we need to realize that as counselors and as professionals, there will be certain traits that we will need to have, certain attitudes that we need to carry as professionals, right, to be able to help them and give them the best environment that we can so that we can help them, right? Now, effective counseling looks at the counselor's personal qualities and skills, which encourages positive growth, right? So, our main goal is to make sure that anybody who's coming to us for help, right, we help them move towards positive growth. It's not that they come to us and they become worse than before. Now, that's going to be a big problem, right? If they come to us and things just get worse, that's really not going to be great. And it's not going to be helpful to anybody else, right? So, the main goal the main goal of the person who's helping anybody, right? The role of the counselor is to provide a relationship that will help the other person discover themselves so that they can start moving towards personal growth and a more positive way of thinking and acting. Now, that goal is really important. That is the main task for us as counselors, right? We help them discover themselves, understand themselves a little more, and guide them in the way of positive thinking and acting, right? So, the crucial roles of any functioning in a counseling relationship, right, is those three. First is an atmosphere of trust, right? The more a person trusts you, the more they'll be able to openly share, and they will not hold back anything from sharing as well, right? The second thing, it models a healthy interpersonal relationship, and the way to have this healthy interpersonal relationship, look at the different attitudes that we have that we need to put in as counselors. And the third thing is you motivate change, right? We encourage the person to move towards good change, right? So we see that now we're going to look at what are the different things that make up a healthy relationship. But in order for us to understand what a healthy relationship is, we need to understand what is not a healthy relationship, right? So, according to you, what do you think is an unhealthy relationship? What is a relationship that you do not want to have? What kind of relationship is that?
Making it too personal.
Make it too personal, okay? A relationship that's too personal. Would you like to be in a relationship that keeps demanding things from you?
The, the relationship it gets chose.
The relationship that gets
Soar in the later stages.
sour at the later stages, all right? Lack of understanding, that's also there, correct? So there are many things that make up a relationship that's unhealthy, right? But now let's look at a professional setup. One of the things that we have to make sure as counselors is that we what's needed, right? We try to not involve ourselves more than what's needed. Now, for example, the main professional relationship that we have normally sticks to the room, right? If you're counseling them, they come inside the room, you talk to them, and it ends there, right? We don't go beyond anything else. Now, for example, if you then ask them, suppose you know that they're staying next to Empire, maybe, and you forgot to bring your lunch. If you tell them, hey, when you're coming for the session later at 1 o'clock, do you mind just bringing me food? Now, that is something beyond what we're not supposed to do, right? Very simple example, but do you understand the nature of involvement? We can't involve ourselves in their lives beyond what is not needed, right? That's not important. Now, doing something that is beyond our boundaries, right? Enforcing our ideas on them. Suppose they're talking about sports and they're talking about really like, right? And they say, I really like cricket. Cricket, I feel like it's good and it makes me really active. But suppose you don't like cricket, you're like, no, I think you should start playing football now. I don't think cricket is too great. All they just do is just like hit the bat and they just run from one end to the other. Now that is us trying to enforce our ideas on them, right? So we need to understand that we can't involve ourselves too much. We can't push our thoughts on them, even if it's as simple as liking a sport or not. And for us to be very careful of our biases and judgment, right? So, for example, you're sitting and you're people to come, or people are just coming and talking to you. And so far, like, suppose think of a church setup. A lot of people are coming, they're all dressed well and proper. And then a man comes in with heavy boots, chains on his pants. He has an entire tattoo sleeve. He has a piercing, and he comes to you and talks to you. Now, seeing the reactions that all of you are giving, I can sense that you'll the initial reaction will be like, okay, what is this person doing here in a place like this? Right? Which means our initial bias without us even realizing is already functioning. Right? But we need to understand that we may meet so many different people from so many different walks of life, right? But what's important for us is that we don't judge. We keep the space free and open. What if this person just has that kind of a dressing style, but deep down they're more spiritual than you know? And they've gone through so much. It's just a choice that they choose to dress in a certain way, right? In the same way how we know everybody has free will, if one day I show up with maybe a piercing on my eyebrow and then everybody's like, oh my God, this is not the teacher that we hope for, right? It's not that I'm going to do it, but like, you get it, right? That's again, free will, right? So we try our best not to judge and we open ourselves to this field, we will meet so many people from so many different walks of life, and it'll be important for us to accept them the way that they are, right? So now let's look at the different attitudes and feelings that a therapist or a counselor should have that helps us in the process, right? So we look at 3 things that help predict the success of a counseling relationship. One is empathetic understanding. The second is unconditional positive regard. And we also have genuineness of the counselor, right? So now let's try and understand what is empathetic understanding first. Empathetic understanding simply means putting yourself in another person's shoe, right? Understanding exactly what that person is going through without putting your thoughts in the middle to move that. For example, most of us realize that when we wear new shoes, especially when we went to school, those black naughty boy Bata shoes, the moment you wear them, the first few days, it's actually very painful, right? And if you tell your other friend, like my shoe, so it's hurting, my shoe is hurting my foot and I can't play today, they'll be like, no, just come and play, bring that bat and come. Unless they wear your shoes, they'll not understand the pain that you're going through, right? So that is simply what it means, to understand the person from their point of view without us putting any extra things in it to make it different, right? So now, why is this important, right? Because when we look at understanding, if somebody comes to you and they talk to you and you're able to understand exactly what they're going through, what are the main things that they will say? I'm understood, I feel heard, I can trust this person, even if I'm just sharing things, they're listening to me, right? They're not saying anything else. You're genuinely understanding what they're going through. It increases that person's first their trust in you and their self-esteem, right? Because sometimes when we go to people and they just push off what you're feeling, then you feel like, oh, maybe that problem wasn't even worth enough to talk about. Maybe I'll just like shrug it, I'll figure it out on my own, right? But what if somebody actually pays attention to you, like, oh, that must have been really hard, what did you do, how did you go about it? Then you're like, oh, it actually meant something, right? Like, it's okay for me to have felt that way. So it's very important for us to learn how to start developing empathetic understanding. Now, this is a skill that will tend to improve over time. Once we meet more, we talk more, we understand how it is a little more, it'll slowly develop through time, right? And what does empathy do? Empathy gives us the main three goals, right? A rapport and a relationship. Rapport basically means the ability to be able to have constant conversations, right? If the rapport, it's just a term that we use, right? In the counseling setup, rapport is the ability to continue to have conversations, right? Sometimes we realize that when you talk to somebody who's entirely new, they'll say, hello, how are you? I'm fine, I'm keeping well. Stops there. Nobody else is saying anything, which means the rapport has died, right? But a continuous rapport means just continuous back and forth talking. Next is it stimulates self exploration, which means it helps the person explore the problem a little more, right? If you're being understanding to what they're going through, the person will actually start to open up a little more, right? And share more, which means you'll start to understand more. Now, for example, if I come to class and I'm like, I tell you guys, oh, you know what? I had such a terrible start this morning. I really didn't like it. If one of you tells me, it's Monday, no, it's okay, Mondays are bad anyways, I'll stop. I will not say anything and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I guess so, right? But now if somebody tells me, oh, what happened? Did something happen on the road? Then I'll be like, no, not on the road. This morning before I left, I had went down, but I had to come back to the house to get my bag. See, same statement, two different response. One will immediately cut me off, and the other statement will help me talk about it a little more, right? Then, if you had allowed me to talk, and I say, oh, I had to go back up and come back down, then you would tell me, oh, must have been really tiring. No, early morning you had to run and come back. Did you drink water after that? I'd be like, no, can I have some water now? Right? It allows you to flow through the conversation. Next, which brings to the third point, which helps you understand the person, the problem, and the confusion. Now you know, why am I having a terrible start to my day? Because I had to go running back. It's not because it's Monday. I simply had to go back to my house and come, and it delayed me a little bit, right? So that's the problem. Next is it provides support. It showed me that you are willing to support me. You didn't just brush off my problems aside, right? And it helps build that communication, right? So now, in order for us to understand this a little more, we need to remember the difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is very different, empathy is very different, right? Sympathy is simply acknowledging what has happened. So, for example, if somebody says that, um, I lost my job, I lost my job last week, right? If we say, if our response is, I'm so sorry for your loss, I'm sorry, right? Basically, you're just acknowledging the problem, right? You're like, oh, there is a problem. Okay, right? But if you're looking at empathy, right? If somebody comes in and tells you, I lost my job, our response could be, Oh, that must have been tough. What happened? Right? Now that question leads to you wanting to understand that problem a little more. Right? So do you see the difference? In sympathy, you just acknowledge what has happened. Empathy, you try to understand a little more why it happened. Right? So it could have been like you saying, oh, that you must be going through a very difficult time right now. What's going on? How are you managing with things? Right? So you're trying to understand. So the main goal of empathetic understanding is to listen and not give any advice during that time. These are the three main things that come with empathetic understanding. The first one is trying to understand the problem a little more, which comes through listening and not giving any advice whatsoever. Right? So when you look at your notes, there's a statement that says you feel dash because dash, right? So that is a very simple formula for empathy, right? Suppose I come, like I say that I had such a terrible start this morning because I had, I became late because I left my bag in my room. So then your response to me being empathetic is you feel terrible because you had to go back. How did that make you feel, right? Where I'm coming from, and now you're trying to understand a little more, right? Now, in order for us to understand this, we're going to play a very quick game. I think this will actually be able to help you understand this a little more. It's called the worst advice game, right? And why am I calling this the worst advice game is that we understand what it would like to be then to give the good advice, right? So I will be giving you a few statements or problems that might be true, might not be true. You give me the worst thing that you'll ever tell somebody who's going through that. Okay? And give me like the worst of the worst. So don't feel bad for saying the worst advice because this is how we'll learn how to be a little bit more empathetic. Okay? Are we good? Yes? Can we start? Okay. Suppose I come and tell you, I didn't get the job I really wanted. What's the worst thing you could tell me? I didn't get the job I really wanted. That's how life is. Okay? Who else will say something else? Come on, you gotta speak. Come on, we need more answers. Try again. Okay, that's not too bad. All right? It's already written for me that I'll not get the job. Okay? All right. What else could you tell me? Maybe you're not fit for that job. Ouch, that stings. Little bit. What else will you tell? The ones in the front. Some answers here also. I didn't get the job I really wanted.
Try experimenting this one and until you try and get the one which you always like.
Okay. That doesn't sound too bad, actually. That sounds like something that is okay, right? Right in the middle. I need you to give me the worst thing that you could ever tell a person. Give me one more answer and we'll move to the next one. The worst advice.
Good for you. Good
Uh,
for you.
Oh, good for you. Oh, wow. Good for you. Okay. You were going to say something? I didn't get the job I really wanted. Maybe you made a mistake.
I had a feeling you won't get it.
I had a feeling you won't get it, right? So we see that these things will actually prick me really hard. You are not. Maybe it's God's will. All right, good. You are not fit for the job. Brilliant, right? So now these are the worst possible things you could actually tell somebody who's been struggling to get a good job, right? Now, try being empathetic, right? if somebody comes and tells you, I didn't get the job I really wanted, how will you respond to them? Being a counselor with empathy, what would you tell them? Okay, you ask how did the interview go, but this is not about asking questions first. This is about trying to understand more of what they're feeling, right? So if somebody asks you, somebody comes and tells you, I didn't get the job I really wanted, what could you see in their face? Sadness, right? That's one. What else do you think you'll be able to see in their face? Frustrated. What else? Failure. Okay, what else? Angry. Okay, they can also experience anger. They can also experience disappointment, low self-esteem also, right? Now, if you look at the formula, you feel angry because you didn't get the job, right? Or you feel sad because you didn't get the job. I'm sure it must have been difficult. Then the person will be like, yes, I waited for 2 hours, they called me 3 hours later, and still I did not get the job, right? So what did that do? It opened up for them to actually talk to you a little more, right? If somebody told me, good for you, it's not God's plan, maybe you didn't work so hard, I would have been like, okay, my self-esteem is already done, I might actually dip a little lower, right? So are you understanding now how empathy works? Right, the kind of statements. Mm. You can, yes. Mm. Correct. Mm. Okay, that's a really good question. So, for the ones online, if you do not hear the question was question like, how are you feeling? In order for us to be able to understand them a little better, because they might be going through so many emotions at the same time. The answer is yes, you can, right? So just make sure that the question that you're asking allows them to explore it a little more, right? You can say, oh, that must have been hard. How are you feeling? Right? Which means the empathy is coming in through you trying to understand that, yes, it was hard for them. What happened, right? Like what exactly happened? So it is okay to ask those questions, right? But just make sure that when we're asking the questions, we're not asking again too much that it overwhelms them from even opening up, right? I know by me saying that now it's becoming a very like answer like, okay, she just said to ask questions, but not to ask too much. We will get into the process of that, but in short, yes, you can ask questions in case if you'd want to understand that a little further, right? Next is, I'll give you one more. Again, worst possible advice that you will give me, and let's see where it goes from there. Next, the statement is, my friends don't really check in on me anymore. My friends don't really check in on me anymore, which means my friends don't really care about me anymore, right? What will you tell that person? Grow up. Okay. What else will you tell them? Talk to me, talk this side, so that I can also pass it through for the ones online. What
Make
else
new
would
friends.
make new friends? Okay. What else would you
Correct your characters.
About them and
correct your character? Yes. What else would you tell them?
just forget about them and move on.
Just forget about them and move on. Yes. What else would you tell them? Let's take two more. Two more things.
Maybe it was your mistakes.
Maybe it was your mistake. Actually. Okay. Why don't you call them? Okay. So now all of these statements, maybe it's actually their fault also, right? Maybe it's actually their fault. They must have made a mistake, right? Somewhere. Very natural for us to have made those mistakes, right? But now respond to this person empathetically. I come and I tell you, I don't think my friends check up on me. They care. How would you respond to them empathetically? That must be tough. You must be feeling left out. That's really good. Any more answers?
Yeah, it's hard, but have to learn the exact truth.
That's hard, but we have to learn the exact truth. Okay, maybe that's more of a 50-50. 50-50 empathy and understanding, I think. What else can you say? What happens to a person if they feel that they're by themselves? They feel lonely. One of the main things that a person will feel is that they're lonely, right? You can also say, oh, are you feeling lonely at the moment? Is that what you're going through, right? Okay, we will take one more statement and then we'll move on. Let's do, I want to take something that's really controversial a little bit so that we see. Okay, if somebody comes and tells you, I messed up now and I feel so stupid. You are, okay? What else can you say? Worst advice, I messed up now and I feel so stupid. The first response that we got is, you are stupid. What else can you say?
It's not a wonder.
It's not? It's not a wonder.
A wonder.
Okay, it's not a wonder. Nice one. What else? What else can you say? Come on, this is a one where you can actually give them left and right.
Yeah,
It's
at least
bad
somebody told you the truth.
At least somebody told you the truth. Nice, nice. What else can you say? Give me two more and then we'll move on. What else can you say? I know this before you could even tell me. Okay? One more. I think the person will be crying by now. One more. Quick, quick. Why did you even try? Oh, ouch. Okay. Now, how will you be empathetic to this person? I messed up and I feel so stupid now. How would you be empathetic to them?
I'm sorry, it's really hard to hear.
Oh, are you able to hear me now? Is this a little clearer?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Or was that okay? All right. All right. We learn by making mistakes. Okay. Not bad. What else can you tell them?
Next time, try to avoid.
Maybe next time try to avoid. Now that seems more like an advice, right? We're advising them. So maybe that might not work so much with empathy. What we're trying to do is get them to talk a little more, right? So what do you think we can tell them so that they'll speak up more about what was this thing that they did that made them feel stupid?
asking
A
them
simple
where
one.
did you go wrong, and
Yeah. So the last two things, asking them where you've gone wrong and what happened, easily opens up, right, to what you can tell them. But now, if you're also looking at this in a form of statements, we can say that the mistake that you made really stuck with you. It's bothering you quite a bit. What is it about? Right? So, empathy, as long as it can come with questions, statements also play a role in that, right? But we will look into that a little further as we go through the further lessons to see how much more we can look into empathy and how we can practice that. But remember, empathy is actually a skill, right? As counselors, now this is a skill that you keep learning and keep improving with every person that you talk to. It's a skill that keeps honing itself, right? So it's okay if right now we feel that, okay, I'm not sure how to answer empathetically. This is something that will start coming once we start practicing. Now let's look at unconditional positive regard. Now, unconditional positive regard means, so if you break that into unconditional, positive, and regard, so it looks at the attitude and the mindset. So I think we all understand what unconditional is, which means no matter what, right? Now, positive means the warm person, and regard is caring and respect. So no matter what, giving the person the warmth, acceptance with caring and respect. Okay, no matter what, with warm acceptance, you will care and respect the person no matter what. So it's an attitude of respect, acceptance, warmth, and affirming value. So it is accepting the person and loving the person with no condition whatsoever, right? If they come to you, whether they are dressed well, not dressed well, with a hole in their shirt or something, same respect as you would show to another person who's properly dressed up, maybe in a suit and good hair, smelling nice, still the same respect that you would show to everybody, right? Now, why do you think it's important to be able to love the person, to show, not love, sorry, to show unconditional acceptance to a person when they come to you to seek help? Okay, so two key things that he said. It shows that you respect them and not judging them in any way, and they will feel valued because you respect them, right? What else? What do you think will come through them seeing that you unconditionally respect them for who they are? It will make them feel valued, right? One of the main things, right? It's self-valuing. They'll come and they'll say, oh, this person doesn't really care. Even if I don't have good clothes, they're still respecting me for who I am as a person, right? And you look at them like that and you say, the way we talk with respect, right? Okay. The way we talk with respect, right? How we can show them unconditional positive regard. Because then once we look at them and we see that no matter how they look, what they wear, what they do, they still get the same respect, right? And sometimes this last acceptance that you may give to a person might be the thing that would want them to change. For most of us, as we know that people coming to talk to counselors is already like a big thing. People like, no, we don't trust counselors. We don't know what they're doing. They may say so many things, right? But sometimes them coming to you might be their last resort of actually wanting to change, right? So imagine you fully accepting them for who they are, no questions. They would be like, okay, at least this person values me. Let's see what can happen, right? It could be something as small as them deciding to come back to you the next time and talk a little more, look more into questions and try to figure out what's happening, right? But suppose if that person comes to you and you're already judging them, they're like, forget it. Nobody actually even cares. I'll just figure out and do whatever. I don't care anymore, right? Now, when we have the attitude of unconditional positive regard, we show them that we'll respect you, we value you, no matter what, right? So these are very important because it gives them the space for change. And we know that at the end of the day, we may not be able to help them too much, but like we also know that because of the free will nature that we have, they'll still make their own decisions, right? We know that we're responsible for ourselves. But what can I do from my end to help you get there? Right? Maybe if all you need from me is just a space for somebody to hear out your thoughts, right? Because I think most of us realize that sometimes just talking to somebody gives us our own answers. We just needed somebody to listen, and then maybe you would have felt like you're talking, and they're like, oh, I think I should go say this instead. That person was just listening, didn't say anything else, right? But it's already giving you the space for change, right? So our position as counselors is you are responsible for yourself, but how can I help you? What are the different things that I can still help you in, right? And one of the main things is with unconditional positive regard, we believe that the person will be able to do it, right? The person will be capable. So we need to build trust by honoring them by who they are. Yes, that's actually very true. We help them build the trust in themselves that they can do what they can, and we honor them. Like one of your classmates said, them, right? So we see that once they have that trust and we show them that, hey, listen, you can do it. Like it's okay. It might be tough right now, but how can I help you get to where you want to be? Right? What are the things that we can do together to help you get there? So, for example, if somebody comes to you and they're saying, I just lost my job, I'm not sure what to do, right? And you tell them, that must be really hard, but what do you think that we can do together? What are the skills that you have that you think that you can utilize for now to help you get to where you are, right? So you know that they had skills, right? Because they had a job. Maybe it was just a company layoff, they were just removing people, right? That means this person has been capable of doing it so far, right? So we need to remember that every person is already capable. They just need a little help to be pushed sometimes. We all need that. We're humans, right? Sometimes things get really low. So when we understand that all we do is just, when we give them that space of unconditional positive regard, we show them that they're valued, we honor them, we talk to them with respect, and we don't judge them, automatically they'll be like, yeah, I think I can try again. Right? So it's important for us to remember that sometimes them coming to us may be the last resort that they'll ever do. Right? And for most of the cases, especially when things have been really hard, it could actually be the last resort for them. Right? Is that clear? Okay. So when we look at genuineness, what does genuineness mean? To be genuine with somebody, what do you think that means? Mm, yeah. How you feel on the inside reflects what you feel on the outside. That's actually the correct answer. And yes, like one of your classmates online has also said, truthful. Right? To be truthful, how you feel inside to what your outward appearance is showing. Right? Sometimes we may say when people ask you, how are you doing? You're smiling like, yes, I'm fine. Inside you're not okay. You're having so many thoughts, you're thinking about so many different things. That means you are not being genuine, right? And we're not being able to show outwardly what we're feeling on the inside, right? But suppose for you as a counselor, you're able to model that for your counselee or the person that's coming in towards you. For example, maybe they're talking to you about something and you have no idea what they're talking about. And you just keep saying, yes, yes, I understand. That must be hard. Whereas inside you're like, what are they talking about? I have no clue, right? So you yourself, you're not being genuine in the room, right? But how could genuineness show up like this? Maybe they're talking to you about something and you don't understand. You can simply tell them, I'm not so sure about what you're talking about. Can you please explain it to me a little more? You're being truthful to them. You don't understand, you're telling them, right? Sometimes genuineness can also show up in a way that maybe somebody is coming to you and they're talking about things that has happened and it's very disturbing for you. You can't take it, right? So it's okay for you to also tell them, can you just give me a while? I'll come back. I just need to collect myself and come back before we resume. Or we also have a process that we follow in a counseling setup where when you know that you can't handle the case, right? You give it to somebody else who'll be able to help. So you're being truthful to yourself as to how much you can handle, and then your client will also respect you for that, right? For example, if they're talking to you about maybe they've lost a parent, right? And that is something that you can't take it. Maybe as they're sharing, you can feel inside of you like, I don't think this is right for me. Maybe they're talking to you about things and it's opening things for you that maybe you haven't processed, right? It's completely okay for you to tell them that maybe I might not be the right fit for you. Can I transfer you to somebody else who'll be able to help you better, right? That means you're also being truthful to them that, listen, I'm not be able to handle it, but I'll guide you to somebody better. And they will have the courage to be honest also. They're like, okay, this person is being honest with me, and I can also be honest, right? Now, those are the bigger things, right? When you have to move and send them to somebody else. But something as small as genuineness could be when you don't understand what they're explaining. It's okay for you to tell, could you please explain it a little more? I don't think I understand what you're meaning, right? So genuineness means that you're inside, what you're feeling on the inside and what you're feeling on the outside is the same, right? So it's completely okay for you to be genuine because that's the only way they'll be able to master it. So a state of not being genuine is a state of being incongruent, right? Now that's another term that we use, simply which means that you're inside, what you're feeling on the inside does not show on the outside, right? So genuineness comes with accurate matching of experience, awareness, and communication. Now, when these three things come into place, you will start now trusting the person a little more. They will also start accepting you for who you are, and you also accepting them for who they are, and it wins the confidence of the counselor. Now, if you're coming to me and you're telling me about something, and I'm like, I don't understand, can you please tell me a little more? You're like, okay, this person was being truthful when they did not understand. I don't mind telling them a little bit more about it. And you're like, I can trust this person because they were openly truthful with me when they couldn't understand, right? So empathetic understanding, unconditional positive regard, and genuineness, these are the three principal attitudes that a counselor should model so that the counseling relationship becomes good, right? So we know for a fact that once we become more empathetic, we unconditionally show them positive regard and we're genuine with them. Ultimately, it lead to a relationship of trust, safety, security, right? So once you're able to model all of these in yourself, then you'd be able to see them in the others, right? If you want somebody to be truthful with you, you will have to be truthful with them, right? If we want somebody to accept us unconditionally, we need to accept others also unconditionally, right? So it goes both ways. And the thing is, if the client comes into be genuine or not, right? In the same way, like when you talk to people, sometimes when they ask you questions and you're saying, oh, you know what, I think last week I had a really tough week. Some people, when they come and ask you, oh, what happened? You know that they're genuine. Whereas some people, when they ask you, oh, what happened? Immediately you're like, oh, maybe this person might just use this against me later on, right? So in the same way how we understand people, just because they're coming to us for help doesn't mean that they also don't understand. They do, right? But they're coming to us. Why? Because they see us in the space of being able to help them navigate through that, right? So the counselor becomes a model. So how genuine you are and how empathetic you are, how well you respect others, how well you're being truthful, how understanding you'll be, you're basically modeling for them, right? So we see that if you treat others with equal respect, acceptance, and dignity, you're actually going to get the same back, right? So the main roles of a counselor, apart from these things, is one thing is you're facilitating the change, right? You're being there right in the middle. You're the one who is trying to understand and who will understand their feelings and their emotions, right? And you're also somebody who's equipping yourself to be able to understand others, right? The same reason why we're having this class today. We're basically learning the different skills for us to learn how to equip ourselves, right? Now, if you combine these with all the three different attitudes, you are the one who's then facilitating the change for your counselee or your client that comes in, right? Now, all of these things are really important for us to understand because your personal attributes, all of these things of being a counselor, will open the door for them to come and share so many things, right? And when we look at all of these different things, when we move on to the next chapter and we look at the counseling process, the different skills that we all have, we will see that there's still so many different layers that comes to it, right? But in order for us to reach all of these layers, if a relationship is not there in the first place, none of these things will actually happen, right? So if you don't have a stable relationship to begin with, nothing else will fall into place, right? So it's important for us to understand that it's crucial to develop a good working relationship with everybody and whoever may come and talk to us. And that's how we take it further in order to be able to help them with other things that they may come and ask about, right? So before we move on, is there any questions that we have with regards to the counseling relationship? I'll just stop sharing for now.
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the ones in class? Is it clear? Okay. I'll just repeat again. When you go back home, if you do read your notes, just look at it. In case if you do have any questions, please feel free to note them down. We'll discuss them in class together. And into the counseling process, and that's going to be a few things again. I think if you're looking through your notes, you might be seeing a few diagrams here and there with models and things like that. We'll be looking into this in detail when we meet next, and the different stages will also come, right? This different stages in the process of any relationship, I mean, a counseling relationship, right? So we will be looking into that. And also just a reminder for our students online, 14, 15, 16, right, are the days of the Christian Leaders Conference. So we will not be having classes during those 3 days. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Just a reminder for the ones online. And yes, if you'd like, you can go through the 4th chapter. That is, if you have the time, if you'd like to, maybe when you come to class, if you have any doubts when you're going through it, we will be. Yes. Thank you so much for joining in to the class for today. Can we just quickly close in prayer before we end? All right. Father God, we thank you for bringing us again to the end of another day and another class, God, and we pray that as we continue to go in further with the different lessons that we have planned, God, we just pray for your continuous wisdom and guidance to be there with us. We pray for your knowledge to pass through each and every one of us attending this class, God, and we just thank you for already starting your work in us, God, and the purposes that you have for us for your kingdom, God. We pray that whatever we do aligns for your will for us, God, and we continue to do everything to the best that we can, and let everything that we done be for your kingdom, for your glory and your honor. and continue to be with us for the rest of the week, God, until we meet again. And we pray this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. All right.
Amen. Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much for joining today. Thank you. See you next class.